Um,
100 and what?
100 and
118.
we're learning about Captain Nathan Hale. Love never asks, how much must I do, but how much can I do?
What page, Mr.?
118. Read that little paragraph up above. It says, courage is not the absence of fear. True courage is doing the right thing even when you are afraid. Imagine that you are young Captain Nathan Hale as you read this story of courage, of loyalty, of character, strong.
Oh my God.
Okay, we're going to talk about Captain Nathan Hale. So in the American Revolution, which happened in 1774 to 17 was when the United States got their freedom from Britain. Kind of like when you guys got the Honduras got their freedom from Spain. Same thing. There was a war. Okay. And there's a man named Nathan Hale. We're going to read about Nathan Hale. Ready? Nathan Hale was a country boy, the sixth of 10 children. When he was 12, his mother died. It had been her wish that Nathan would study to be a minister. So he entered Yale College when he was only 14. He was a big, strong, handsome fellow, full of fun and fond of sports, which means he liked sports. He was best at what was known as the broad jump. For many years, the Hale jump made the record for the college. He was a strong swimmer and excelled in archery. In going about the college grounds, Hale was often seen placing one hand on top of 6-foot fences and vaulting over it with ease, which means jumping over. Nathan could stand in one hogshead with his hands on his hips and jump up out of that into the second hogshead. Then, in the same manner, leap into the third hogshead and from there out on the ground, all without touching. Athletic feats were so wonderful. Those were the things young Hale did.
I cannot listen, Mr. because
Okay. Nathan also became president of the Debating Society. When he was 17, the ready, eloquent speaker was chosen for the society's highest honors. One address of his is still kept in the records of Yale University. Page 119. Right after his graduation, at the age of 18, young Hale began to teach school and tutor to pay his way while studying to be a minister. But early in 1775, after teaching less than 2 years, the news of the first battles in the War for Independence fired the fervent soul of the young patriot. He joined the army. Nathan Hale was appointed lieutenant in the company sent by Connecticut, his native state, to become part of General Washington's army, which was trying to take the city of Boston from the British. The army was then without uniforms, proper arms, or training. During the summer, Lieutenant Hale turned 21 and was promoted to the captain of rank of captain. When the time came for the Connecticut men to re-enlist, the young captain was shocked and hurt to find that some of the men in his own company were not willing to serve a little longer. He promised them that if they would serve one another, he would give them his own wages. Hale and some of his men were among the few who stayed till the British. The British were driven out of Boston by sea. After this, the commander-in-chief, foreseeing that New York would be the next point of attack for the British, sent all his soldiers on ahead to that city. And the first brigade to go was Captain Nathan Hale, with as many of his little company as he could command. While officers like Hale were recruiting new soldiers and drilling the raw recruits, Washington went to consult with the Congress, which was then in session at Philadelphia. It was the summer of the Declaration of Independence. Are you guys on the next page?
Yes.
120.
yes.
Washington and his untrained troops, less than 14,000 in number, had to defend and hold New York City, Brooklyn, and the surrounding country against an army nearly 3 times as large. Sorry. The British troops under General Howe were well equipped and trained, and they were aided by a fleet of warships commanded by the general's brother, Admiral Lord Howe. The House and the regular soldiers thought it would be easy for their army to capture the American army and carry Washington and other ringleaders of the rebellion back to England to be hanged for treason. Who knows what hanged means? Does anyone know what hanged means?
No.
Hanged for treason, which is where they would kill you for
Already know, mister.
Tell
The
me.
betrayal of one's country.
Betray. Yes, very good, Monster. The betrayal of one's country. That's treason. So they betrayed. If you were considered for treason, they would be betraying you. They would hang you, which means they'd put you on a rope and kill you. But that didn't happen with Washington. Late in August, when Washington learned that Howe was landing his army on Long Island from Staten, he sent General Putnam to meet and hold the British back. As the British outnumbered Putnam's company 5-1, the Americans retreated to their defenses. This engagement was called the Battle of Long Island. At nightfall, the British encamped around the cornered Americans, and the commander told his staff that they would take the nest of rebels in the morning. A dense fog came in from the sea, and Washington, under cover of it, got as many boats together as his sailor soldiers could manage, and they rowed away from Long Island in the silent watches of the night. Next morning, when Howe came to capture the nest, the birds had flown. They had disappeared. Washington was now forced to move his army from place to place, and now that the danger of being captured was greater than before, he needed to learn, if possible, what General Howe's plans were. Nathan Hale, the youngest of the captains, was the only man to volunteer for this dangerous service. Okay, so they're going to battle against the British. Having a hard time because they don't have as many soldiers. And so they have to find a way to figure out information. So say you were in a battle and you had to find out information from somebody else. What would you do? What would you do? What did you say, Sandra?
I just put quickly to say that because they can kill me about that.
They could. It's dangerous. So what would you have to do? You would have to become a, starts with an S.
Soldier.
Not a soldier, yeah, soldier, but something else. Starts with S-P. Spy. You'd have to become a spy.
Spy.
Okay.
What's an spy, mister?
A spy is someone who sneaks around trying to find information. For example, if I had a spy in 4th grade, it means I would have someone in 4th grade trying to find out information for me. Or say, at this time, the Americans were fighting the British. And so if they had spies, it means they'd have people in the British side gathering information and then giving the information back to the Americans. And so that's what Captain Nathan Hale had to do.
Oh.
Let's read 121, and then I'm going to let you guys start reading. Those who were loyal to the king called themselves loyalists. Others called them Tories. These colonists believed that Washington was a traitor and that his men were rebels. Because of Nathan Hale's frank face and sincere manner, it was thought that he can make friends with these Tories and find out what was desired through them and their friends, the British officers. Also, as he was an educated gentleman, he could take a position as tutor, as a tutor or a teacher in the family of a rich Tory. British officers visited these loyalists and often discussed plans with them. Captain Hull, a college friend of Captain Hale's, was now an army comrade also. When he heard that Hale was going, he called to beg him not to go as a spy. He argued, "Your nature is too frank and open for deceit and disguise. General Washington, nor any commander, has a right to ask you to assume the garb of friendship for the betrayals of others." And so basically he said, you can't do that. You're too direct. You're too honest. You couldn't do that. Hale hesitated a moment and then spoke clearly and firmly. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. Hale hesitated a moment, then spoke clearly and firmly. All right. Who is going to read for me?
Word, mister?
Who's going to read for me?
In Word.
I want to read for the page 122.
On page 122, I need someone to read for me.
Mister,
Sander?
I will read. I mister.
Okay. Monse, go for it.
Okay. I think I owe it to my country to do the things which seem so important to General Washington. And I know of the no other way of getting the decided information than by using a decide and passing into the enemy's camp. But under his friends, almost in despair, this of the disgrace of it. If you were caught, you would be hanged as the criminal. Dear Nathan, I beg of you, don't go. Nathaniel was deeply moved. He said that he took upon himself the disguise of the man he came to live amongst. For the good of many and the cause of the right, he was arrested and hanged on a cross. Who am I that I should set up my judgment against his explain and the General Washington will?
All right. Very good. Who are they talking about? So he said he was deeply moved, and then he said he took upon himself the disguise of the men he came to live among for the good of many others, cause of the right. He was arrested and hanged on a cross. Who is that? Who is Nathan talking about?
Captain Washington.
What'd you say, Sander?
Nathan, mister.
Nathan was mentioned. Who was arrested and hanged on a cross?
Capital word.
Jesus.
Jesus.
All right. Sander, I want you to read still.
Still Captain Hill could not give up. He recorded his last attempt to persuade the young man whose love a country was so strong. I urge him for the love of country, for the love of kindred, to abandon an enterprise which could only end in the sacrifice of the dearest interest of both. He paused, then actually taking my hand, he said, I will reflect and do nothing but what duty demands.
Very good. So his friend's still trying to convince him, saying, don't do it, don't be a spy, because if they catch you, they're going to kill you. And he says, I'm not going to do, I'll think about it, but I'm only going to do what I need to do. Okay? Gloria, will you read the next section for me?
Mister, do you know what means enterprise? A plan?
Yeah.
Or a sloop?
A small
A small sailing boat.
Where?
Sloop.
Down on the page. Down.
A small sailing boat. Yeah, that's the definitions of the word.
Naturally. If Gloria doesn't know where we are, I want to read.
Gloria, we're at naturally very little. Go for it.
Naturally, very little is known of the spy in the few weeks then followed. Sergeant Hempstead went with him to the point choose for crossing on a waiting sloop to Long Island, many miles from the British camp. Hale was dressed in a brown suit of citizen's clothes with a round, broad-brimmed hat. When the captain and the sergeant wrung each other's hands in farewell, Nathan Hale gave into Hempstead's care his private papers.
Continue letters.
Yeah.
Letters and his shoe buckles. The letters were to Hale's aged father and to the girl woman he expects to marry.
I want to read.
Who said that? Lizzie,
Yes.
go for it.
After several weeks, Nathaniel succeeded in carrying out General Washington's instructions, even making a number of sketches. So far as he knew, he had not been suspected. This, he thought, was rather surprising, for there were tourists everywhere. Late in September, in the dark of the moon, Hale slipped away from the breezes on Long Island and strolled down to the water edge, where he was to meet the sloop and sail back to his own army. He waited some time for the ship, but it did not come. Then, to his great relief, a sailboat came in sight and made up to the shore. As the boat drew near, he hailed it with a happy shout. It did not occur to him that there was anything wrong. When it was too late, Hale saw that some of the men in the boat wearing British uniform. In a moment more, he was their prisoner. He had been betrayed. It was never known by one. At first, his story cousin was blamed, but he was later proven innocent.
Very good. So did Captain Nathan Hale succeed? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, he did succeed.
Yes.
He had a lot of sketches or drawings, and he thought that no one knew what happened. And so he goes back to the place where he first crossed the river, and he's waiting, and no one shows up. And then,
Mister, can I keep reading?
yeah, let's explain this part first.
Okay.
And so what happened? Did he escape? Xander, did he escape?
I lose because I was talking with my father.
Did he escape, Xander?
No, Mr. I don't know.
Lizzie, did he escape? What did you say?
Yes.
He escaped.
Yes.
You sure? Look at that photo. What happened? He did not escape.
What you say?
She did not escape. No, mister.
He got captured by the British people. He thought it was his cousin, but his cousin was innocent. All right, Monse, keep reading.
He was taken to General Howard's headquarters where the Talday sketch and data were found in his shoes. He did not deny then he was a spy.
He did not. So he basically said, "Are you a spy?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a spy. I'm a spy." Keep going.
Since it was not necessary to try him after he confessed, he was turned over to the provost marshal to be changed. If Nathaniel was permitted to write farewell letters that night, they were never delivered in the morning. Hale escaped if they might speak with a minister. But that was currently denied him. Will you lend me a Bible a moment? Then he asked. No, snapped the marshal. A skin-haired British officer who noticed the poor, honest face of the young American spy. offer him shelter from the sun in his tent during a brief delay. The heart of his enemy's captain was touched, and it was heard in the enemy captain. I know, Mister. He who preserved Nathanael's famous last word for future age. If the young spy could have known that his death would strain the hearts of patriots to free the liberty,
Right.
and then what he was about to say would go sounding down the age. It would have comforted him that hot September day.
All right. So he asked for, so he basically got, because he said that he was a spy, they weren't going to try to put him on trial, which means they would have a judge and all that. So he asked to speak to a minister. They said no. He asked for a Bible. They said no. But a soldier was really nice to him and gave him shelter on the hot day. And so here, I'll finish reading it and then we'll get started with the questions. They led him to an apple tree nearby, fastened his arms behind him, and tied a rope around his ankles. On his handsome face rested the resigned expression which is shown in the bronze and marble statues of Nathan Hale at Yale, which he used to play in the park before City Hall in New York. Well, have you any confession to make? Asked the marshal. Nathan Hale smiled at the needless question, where he had confessed the night before. Hesitating only a moment, he answered the officer with a simple courtesy and the bravest words ever uttered by mortal man. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. That's for Nathan Hale. Did Nathan Hale die? Did Nathan Hale die?
Yes.
He did die.
Poor Nathan.
Poor Nathan. All right, there are 4 questions. Question number 1. Name some adjectives which describe Nathan Hale. Remember, adjectives are words that describe. So you can say, was he ugly, pretty, fat, skinny? But you have to use adjectives that are in the book. You can't come up with your own because you never knew this guy. So come up with some adjectives that describe Nathan Hale. Number 2, what lines or what words did Nathan Hale? One sec. On page 122, show Nathan Hale's great sense of duty, which means he was committed.
Mister, we need to do the first. No.
Yes, everyone does. Wait, let's go through the questions first.
Okay.
So what lines on page 122? So you're going to look at page 122. You're going to write what words show that he was committed to what he was supposed to do, that he was going to do what he was supposed to do. And number 3 is what new thing did you learn about Nathan Hale in the story? Something interesting he might have done, something nice he would have done. And number 4, what were Nathan Hale's last words? What were the last things he said? Okay, these are pretty easy questions.
No.
Okay, no.
Help us, mister.
I'll
Yes.
help you a little bit, but I'm not going to give you the answers.
No, you're the player where is the answer.